6 or 7 boxes.
You never know what you're going to throw.
How many flies do you usually fish when you go up there?
1 or 2.
Okay.
But
well, I mean, we can fish a team of flies.
Yeah.
Here in Colorado.
The comfort that I know I've got them all sitting in the backpack.
In case you need to fish 8 on one washing line, you can do it.
Yep.
No problem.
Trout line style.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Flies 4. Today we are in Anglers All, Denver location, brand new fly shop. I can smell the smell, fantastic. And we are going to do flies for Colorado. We've got some really unique things that we have here in the state, and we wanted to sit down with Blake and Delaney and talk through what makes Colorado such a unique place to be an angler. So thank you guys for joining us, and I'm excited to dig into this one.
Thanks for having us, Russ.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time.
Happy to be here.
So let's get a little background about you guys. Delaney, you're one of our new signature tyers. We don't have your fly in the catalog yet, but it is in development.
Soon.
It's going to be awesome. So wait for that guy.
And it is called
Sloppy Toppy.
Look out for that one. It's coming.
It's coming.
And Blake, you're not a tyer with Umpqua, but a longtime angler, good friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
And both you guys are born and raised. Natives,
Colorado,
as they say.
A couple of Colorado natives. Pretty rare. Absolutely.
It's pretty rare. So
Yeah.
you guys have a pretty good pulse on what's happening in the state.
I like
Grew
to
up
think
local.
so. Yeah.
Fished many of the places around town.
And Anglers All has been servicing Colorado for how long?
Yeah, we're celebrating 70 years this year. So in 1954, we opened the doors, and one of the oldest fly shops in the country, and really proud of our history, and proud to be this year expanding and servicing more of the Front Range and all of the people that travel through this city to fish in other places and internationally. And yeah, we're 70 years. Pretty
That's
awesome.
crazy. That's crazy. We were talking a little bit before the show started about just how different, even in the last like 15, 20 years, our industry looks and the way everything works. I would love to roll back the clock and step into the shop 70 years ago and see what that was like.
You know, it's cool that in an outdoor industry that the local fly shop model is still thriving.
Absolutely.
Right? There's so many industries in which, you know, things have gone online exclusively and big box, and there's so much knowledge and expertise in small fly shops, independently owned fly shops that, yeah, we're excited to be here.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is why we're doing this whole series, is
Right.
to sit in fly shops around flies and talk about fly fishing, because this is where it happens, is fly shops.
That's right. Yeah.
And so you guys have your Littleton location, which has been nearly the original location.
Yep, nearly the original location. It's been in at that address on South Santa Fe Drive since before Santa Fe was a highway. It's in the late 60s. And we last year in March of 23, we expanded that property to introduce the boathouse, which is a really cool concept to show off, you know, fully built and kitted out fly fishing, non-motorized watercraft. And you can touch and feel and see all those boats in person. And then, then this year in March, Delaney helped us open up this shop that we're sitting in right now off of 6th Avenue, the new Denver Anglers All Denver location, and we are beyond excited to be in this neighborhood and be servicing the Denver anglers in a way that hasn't been in years.
Awesome. And so 2026 is like another shop, 2027 is another shop.
We might take a year off, I think. Maybe go fishing this year, right?
Ah, good idea.
Gotta take some time for ourselves, you know.
That's it, man. Well, awesome. So in your guys' mind, what makes Colorado such a unique place to be an angler?
I'd say it's the ability that you can drive 7 hours or you can go fish 15 minutes from the house, you know. The ability to fish whatever situation you want to in the state makes it unique.
There's so much water. I mean, I grew up here. I've been fly fishing for 30 years, and I still haven't even scratched the surface, right? There's so much blue lining to do, and cool spots that you hear about from other anglers or customers. And there's so much in the state, whether it's freestones and tailwaters and high mountain lakes and small creeks, and then the whole front range fishery that we have that I don't think gets enough attention.
Totally. It's the angler's kit. If you live on the Front Range and you're going to go explore what we've got, it's pretty extensive. It's fun. And then not to mention Denver International is 30-40 minutes from here. And you can go do whatever you want then. It's
Jumping off point for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty special. Well, so we've set the stage. What I'd like to do is kind of dig into Colorado's kind of three zones, call it. We've got the Front Range of the Colorado that kind of is the foot of the mountains, right? That expands all the way to the other half of the state that no one ever talks about fishing.
Kansas.
Yeah. And then we've got kind of the unique thing. Colorado's a headwater state. We've got 4 different headwaters that begin here. And so we've got this incredible high country zone. And then the third place we're going to talk about is the Western Slope. So let's start by digging into some of the flies for the Front Range.
Warm water and carp and trout and all of those things, right?
That's a lot of what the Front Range is.
Yeah. Talk about species.
Did you say carp?
We said carp.
Come on in.
I want to talk. Warm water talk.
We're going to have Daryl jump in with us real quick. Daryl's an Umpqua Signature Tyer.
I feel like I'm at the little table at Thanksgiving.
I'm happy to have you here.
I'm really a lot taller than I look.
Want some extra mashed potatoes with that turkey?
5'10" at least.
Without the chacos.
Without the chocolate.
Yeah.
No, when it comes to carp or warm water in general, I'm a big fan of just kind of getting out and exploring. It's a really cool way to kind of get out and enjoy not only Colorado, but to learn what's out there and what there is to fish that most people aren't fishing. So I'm going to go through a couple of bugs that I fish. No spoiler or no secret here, they're going to be my Umpqua patterns. Shocker.
Right.
However, they work. So we're going to fish them, right? But when it comes to doofuses, the old school original pattern was the yellow and the brown. I moved to the pumpkin and the orange because it's a very bassy combination of those two colors. Those are the primaries. I do have some alternate off-menu colors, if you will, but for the most part, I really think that what sells the doofus is the CDC collar and those wood duck wings. Just really kind of puts some life to that fly. The DMC is pretty self-explanatory. I know it's a mop. I really do a lot of work in making sure that we have some presentation and some silhouette working with this fly. It's a great river fly. In CFS, anywhere from 70 to 150. You can use the small and the mediums and tumble this fly in the lower column. So although we will fish this straight to the bottom and move it around or just to get it down in front of a fly, this fly was designed to be a tumble fly. So going in from lower to higher CFS, you have carp sitting in the middle of the river and they're moving back and forth and they want to eat and you know they're eating, but you can't get a fly to them because if you get it down below, it's not moving like everything else. You got to move it this far off the bottom. So having a fly in 2 different weights that I can move down in the lower column that wouldn't bottom out but would tumble now brought those fish into the eat range versus the move off and not eat range.
What river are we talking about?
The Denver South Platte, baby.
Oh,
There we go.
Heck yeah.
Our Front Range River, right?
the backyard river, truly.
And I fish the Denver South Platte. You'll hear us affectionately known as the DSP or called the DSP. So if you hear me say DSP, it's the Denver South Platte.
Why the mop versus any other material for the tail? Talk to me about that.
Honestly, I wanted to bring a little moxie and respect to the mop game.
Classy. Real classy.
I felt that
Elevating the mop.
I felt that if I tell my son this all the time, if I'm going to yuck on someone's yum, I should at least try it first. So before I started making fun of mop flies, I should at least tie a few and fish them first.
See if they work.
And I actually
They work.
They work, and I like to have. They're pretty good. However, I wanted to kind of put some design in there, so tapering it from one end to the other really does bring that large crane larva into the effect, and then also making sure that dubbing is breathing versus just getting matted down. So there's some tricks in there for sure. HVRT. No big secret here. You fished a guide's choice hare's ear, then you're going to really dig this pattern. It's just a confidence transfer kind of fly. If you're really new to carp and you don't know what's going on, do I that fly? Do I pick that fly? The HVRT is one of those bridge flies to kind of get you into the game. It looks like a hare's ear because it is a hare's ear. It's just on my chassis. It's going to roll over nice and slow, and it'll fish like any nymph. I really say, if you fish this in the rocks in less than a foot of water, I really believe they're seeing this as a clawless craw and just really going in and eating aggressively. I rested this on rocks. It's a great way to fish for less than a foot, 6-8 inches of water. You've got fish bumping along the rocks. Go a few feet ahead of that fish, rest that on the rock, so as this fish moves down, it's just waiting for it, and they'll smash them that way versus trying to put it on.
Are you only fishing these flies for carp?
I was gonna say.
Well, actually, the DMC and my leech patterns, I really rail a lot of bass with. They all catch bass, but I can tie my leech and my DMC on and fish for both species. Definitely will do what it has to do as far as smallmouth, for sure. And then overall, basic warm water. If I'm just going out to fish warm water, I'm fishing craws and leeches because I can fish these for bass and for carp. And that's kind of what I'm doing right there. I don't want to just go for one species. I don't want to change bugs a lot. So
Almost like a searcher pattern.
yeah, I mean, I'll show up. I'm going to sight fish for carp. If those carp aren't present, before I just leave and bail, I'm going to fish structure with my leech or my craw pattern, and usually going to pick off some bass or some crappie. That's my paladin craw. Yeah.
I think my favorite thing, I'm over here, we're staring at Daryl's box. All of these flies, not all of them, a vast majority of it have been fished, and there's these little pink tags coming out of the eyes of all of them.
So I use a lot of the Deceiver pink. It's basically all I'm using here. I love this stuff. It is super supple, and it's disappearing in the column. So any nick or knot you have, it's refracting less light. And when you're dealing with fish that are going to see the smallest nuance, having less light refracted in my knot is going to be a game that I'm going to play 100% of the time. So that and my leaders. No big secret here. If I have to go to a carp leader, I dig my 16-pound and 12-footer. And then I like an all-purpose nylon salt leader. I like that coating. It's a burlier 9-foot, a nylon leader, and it turns over some bigger flies for me. So that's kind of what I've been rocking lately. If I have to go with something longer, I'll do my carp.
It looks like all these are tied with a non-slip loop, yeah?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of a loop. I will tie midges on. I fish for trout, by the way, if you didn't know that.
No way!
Who would have thought?
Since when?
So I'll tie my midges on with a loop knot. So I'm a firm believer as a tyer that the loop knot allows these flies to do what they want to do. So everything's going to be with a loop knot for sure. Yeah.
And this is how you run this box, the bug locker?
Yeah.
With everything piled in?
Yeah, so I mean, it looks like a mess. So I purposely brought my box so I didn't have to build a box out that didn't look like something that I fished. So this is a working box. I've had this for probably going on 3 years now. I've got magnets in all my compartments. I've got some spots down here where I can put on some smaller droppers if I wanted to. My last box here has holes in the bottom so like I can get some air in there for wet flies. Nothing leaves this box. If I decide between two flies, the fly that's on deck is on my foam pad. So when I open it up, I can go right to the fly that I was thinking about.
This is my favorite thing. When I fished with you for the first time, he's over here like pulls out his box and just puts one there. And then goes back in and starts thinking again. I was like, what is this?
On deck. On deck.
So sometimes you can't make up your mind, and having a little foam pad to kind of
Beautiful.
Put something there, it's like, you know what? I'm not 100% convinced I want to fish that fly.
It's a hard maybe.
Hard maybe.
Hard maybe for
So
sure.
I'm hell-bent on maybe a beta fly, fish that, and then once that one's done, that one's on deck and ready to
Usually anything with craft for Daryl's over.
So
I'm a big fan of Crafter, if you didn't know.
So the question is, when you approach a new piece of water, are you going straight confidence pattern, or are you throwing the beta in there and then working up to it?
So I'll give you two answers. First and foremost,
Okay.
I would urge everybody to not have a confidence pattern, because if you have confidence patterns, what are the other patterns in your fly box?
They don't get fished.
Non-confidence patterns. So you need to focus on your presentation. So have confidence in your presentation versus that fly. That way, when you open up your box, every fly is on deck. Every fly you're going to grab, you can tie on with confidence, because I'm good with my presentation. So try and get away from confidence flies. I think it really messes with the mind when it comes down to like those first few flies, they don't work. Now you're in a situation where those confidence flies didn't work, and
There's
you have
no answers left.
There's no answer, and you got a box full of flies. So now you have to like talk yourself into fishing that fly.
It's a really tough place to
So
be.
shift your focus to having confidence in that presentation, and every fly in your box, you'll have decisions going, oh, that one I want to fish, that one I'll fish that one. Remember, they're prolific eaters. Good presentation, and they're going to eat, for sure. And the second part of that answer was that if I'm searching new water, I'm probably going to fish a leech. works.
All right. So if people want to go down the rabbit hole with Daryl, where do they listen to your podcast?
Nervous Waterflies Pod Radio Showcast. You can find that on Spotify, Apple Play, but Spotify is going to be the main place you can find that. Absolutely.
It's fun if you want
Russ
to
is on
go
that.
big, deep, and have a lot of fun listening to Daryl.
And if you want to go big deep in person, catch Daryl at Anglers All Littleton after an espresso at approximately 3 p.m.
And if you tell me you want the short answer, I'm not offended. I'm not.
He's not ready
Otherwise,
for it either.
yeah, right.
We've
Otherwise,
seen him talk for hours.
right.
Well, thanks for running through some warm
Thanks,
water. on the
Daryl.
front range,
I was just
Daryl.
passing by. I figured,
Yeah.
hey, let's talk some warm water, you know?
That's great,
Appreciate
man.
the knowledge,
Yeah,
man.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you in a bit.
Right on.
Well, let's move up to the high country and get reset here.
All right.
Let's do it.
We're from the front range. We're just going to go up in elevation. Essentially, if you go straight west from Denver, you start climbing elevation super quick, and you end up in the super high country zone. How do you guys define high country when it comes to Colorado?
Ooh, what do you think?
Ooh, it's difficult because, you can get high country in about 20 minutes just outside of Idaho Springs, and you can drive most of that. You can drive 4 hours and you're hiking 10 plus miles. So
Like an elevation thing?
I think it's an elevation thing, above.
Elevation and just remoteness, right?
Mhm.
I mean, some of these high mountain creeks that are feeder creeks to some of our main stems. When they get out there and you got to hike to them or 4-wheel drive to them, I'd kind of consider that high country.
Yeah, that remote feel that, you're the only one up there, right?
It's like the opposite of Deckers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Finding some
You're gonna
solitude.
You're going to see more bears and moose and all that stuff instead of people.
I like that. That sounds great.
It sounds fun.
What's the window on high country?
Late June into end of September is probably the right window for it. You're hitting ice off in early June, depending on your elevations, and early October in some of the lower elevations. So you got about 3 months.
Put the feet trough on.
Right. And it's always brutal when you take a chance on an early season hike and you put the miles in and you get up there, and what happens? The lake's frozen.
Lake's frozen.
I
I
post holing up to the lake, and you're like, this isn't going to be good.
took a risk June 1st and
Too early.
post-holed waist deep for 2 miles just to see a frozen lake. It's a sad day, but the beauty is most all the lakes have creeks feeding out of them, and there's fish in there too.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
This must have had good quality fish for that kind of risk.
You would think so, but a 4-inch
Nobody
brook trout
knows.
is what you're going to find.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Great colors.
they're still fun to catch.
That's right. Eager to take a dry.
Yeah. always.
Well, let's talk about some of the flies for. We got 3 bugs on the table here. Very kind of different look to all 3 of them. Let's start subsurface. I see Winkler's new Balanced Leech Nano, which is a super cool new fly for us. Tell us about that bug.
If I can't get fish to rise and I need to have an indicator rig going, that's always a fly on the bottom. That, I know he does purple and olive as well, so I've always got them both all 3 in the box, and that fly is always on the line no matter what.
And so if you say it's on the bottom, are you fishing something else with it?
Usually I go chironomids, scuds. We do get a lot of caddis in our alpine lakes, so caddis nymphs in there as well. But I love fishing the heaviest fly to the bottom with no weight on my rigs. I like that very, very slow, subtle hover out of the flies when I'm fishing in the alpine lakes.
Sweet.
How do you figure out your depth? Just play with it or what?
Ballpark the first one and figure it out after that. I usually start probably 6 feet and just work my way around after that.
I mean, this is a fly that not only works in the high country, but I mean, this is such a staple on some of our big reservoirs. So it's just one of those flies that enters into a zone organically.
It's a very good still water fly.
Yeah.
I fish it on a lot of the South Park lakes, North Park lakes, but in the high country, it always seems to work for me.
And then moving it to the next bug here, this is one that's caught a lot of trout for a lot of people for good reason. Andrew Grillis' hippie stomper.
Yeah, I mean, grasshopper, beetle, ant, it could be anything. Dry dropper rig, I'm usually throwing it on a 9-foot leader. The power taper is the one I usually go to grab on a 4-weight. Dry dropper or single dry, and walking around looking for cruising fish.
And lake, river, all.
It all works, yeah.
Everything, yeah. This is what color do you like?
Purple.
You like purple?
Purple's the
I
favorite.
like the royal, personally, with the
'Cause
little red hot spot.
Because
on
you
it.
like the history of the fly, where it's kind of like the updated Humpy.
Yeah,
that
right.
Indestructible.
Yep.
Go with the royal traditionalist.
Yeah, maybe I'm a
I'm
traditionalist.
I'm outside the box.
Yeah, right. He's fishing it a little differently, but purple's great.
I mean, I like the color purple. So when I first found it in the fly bins, purple was the first grab.
Is your hype song to go fishing "Purple Rain" by Prince?
No, unfortunately.
Oh,
not.
come on, man! You like purple?
Only if the fishing's really good.
Yeah.
Rain down.
Maybe
on
on,
it.
Right there.
maybe
you go.
on the way down.
Okay, celebration song.
Yeah,
Celebration for those 4-inch brookies.
exactly. And a 2-mile post hole and hike
Yeah.
on the way back to the
Yeah,
car.
right.
Sick.
Yeah.
I don't know what's worse, the hike up or the hike down. I guess it depends on how your fishing day goes.
I
Right?
mean, the hike up,
It's full of possibility.
I mean, once you hit the good time, the hike up is always the worst part.
Okay.
Because you're sweating, you're fatigued, you're getting up there. You may not catch fish, you may catch fish. So the hike down is always more fun.
Man, that sounds great, doesn't it, Russ?
I'm the opposite, man. I like to hike up. It's
Really?
full of wonder.
Full of possibility,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it was just like, I'm fucking just worked.
I get that.
The beer tastes cold and good at the end of the
I'm
hike.
usually hiking down to grab a drink.
Yeah.
You got something to look forward to on the way down. There's something to look forward to on the way up, but the way down, it's usually goodies.
So you got purple in this, but what happened to the purple?
Yeah, last
Over
bug
here.
here.
Yeah.
Triple double.
Triple Gordon.
Are you colorblind?
Gordon Thayer's triple double. No, I fish it more as an ant. He originally
Oh,
tied it,
yeah.
I believe, for a midge cluster, but in the high country for Colorado, it fishes very well as an ant.
So why choose this over an ant pattern then, if that's what you're trying to imitate?
I'll fish them all, but the ability that I can throw on a Versa leader or just a standard nylon leader and fish it as a dry or a sunken ant gives me the ability to adjust based on the fish I'm going for.
So if you're going to start to drown this thing, what does that presentation look like? Static, retrieving it?
A little bit of both. I do really like to creep it. I'll fish it on either a hover or an intermediate sinking leader, and then just slowly start working it back in off of deep shelves. And sunken ant or sunken beetle is an incredible pattern in the high country.
You fish it as a single fly?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy the willingness of a trout to take a fly that is like this far underneath the surface versus all the way to the break. There's a little comfort
100%.
there.
It's weird.
They won't break the surface sometimes.
It's very odd that you can see a fish cruising and throw him a dry fly and he'll refuse. You drop it 6 inches and all of a sudden he's fired up and ready to go.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the coolest things about, especially the lake stuff. Cutthroat, especially, like you'll throw out your cast and you'll just watch them like,
Pick all day. Yeah.
come on, man.
It's the suspense. That's the fun part. You can
And you
see
get to watch them coming, right?
you can
'Cause the
see
water's
20
so clear.
feet straight
Yeah.
down. The water's so clear and all you're seeing is this fish coming up. And the worst part is when they go right back down.
This is the worst
The
part.
refusal.
Is there any other things you guys do from a getting your gear up perspective? You bringing everything you've got? Are you slimming down to make sure you've just got kind of the core of what's going to work? What's the plan?
Yeah, I go pretty light when I pack into a lake, but I will take 2 rods because one thing that seems to always happen is you don't want to leave and the wind comes up. And being able to put away your 4-weight, which just isn't cutting it, and maybe picking up a 6 to get that distance when there's chop on the water makes a big difference to me. But yeah, I'll kind of pare down and try to get all my flies into maybe one box, and then carry a lot of water and snacks and an extra fly rod, as opposed to everything that I might carry on a boat or something.
It tells me you got some gear in the house.
Yeah, maybe.
I would say I'm the exact opposite.
Okay, you bring it all.
I tend to go light on the food and water and resources
All right.
and make sure I have the gear. So
Well, give yourself another.
I tend to
15
go
years.
for the very thin boxes. and that way I can fit 6 or 7 of them for whatever situation I need to fill. And
6 or 7 boxes.
you never know what you're gonna throw.
How many flies do you usually fish when you go up there?
1 or 2.
Okay.
But
Well, I mean, we can fish a team of flies.
yeah,
Here in Colorado.
the comfort that I know I've got them all sitting in
Right.
the backpack.
In case you need to fish 8 on one washing line, you can do it.
Ooh,
Yep.
No problem.
Trout line, so.
Well, awesome. If people haven't gone into the high country, or if you go up there regularly, man, I think in every angler's kind of heart, back of their mind, it is like some of the most iconic. There isn't a bad view at those lakes. As long as you can get up and get down comfortably.
It's a wild experience.
Or even uncomfortably. It's most of the time it's worth it. I mean, talk about a beautiful place to be, right?
Even if you're not catching fish, yeah, being able to look over the Rocky Mountains,
Yep.
seeing everything
just
that's
nice to be
below.
out.
Yep.
And there's so much of it. I mean,
Yeah.
you've been doing it
I've-
for years, and I mean, there's still lots of stuff on your list.
It's
for
hard.
sure.
I mean, you fish one lake, you come down and you pick a new one. I've probably been doing high country for 4 years, and I've barely scratched the surface.
And that's the thing, like there's just not a ton of published material on it, and they can change
For
so
good
much
reason.
year to year too,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
like heavy snowpack, fish kill, whatever, and it's like you really have to go to know.
It's all a gamble. You gotta make the hike. You gotta put the effort in and be up there yourself to see it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, we're going to transition one more time here, and we're going to pop over the Continental Divide, and we're going to talk about the West Slope fishery for a second, which, again, has its own set of rules from the Front Range and the High Country. Cool. So as we jump into the Western Slope, give us a little definition of what you would consider that like. As a Front Range angler, what does that mean?
I mean, to me, that means over the divide, right? I mean, it's your bigger water, it's your floatable water, it's further drive, sometimes less people, sometimes not. There's a really cool mix on the Western Slope of both tailwaters and freestones, and so the possibilities are pretty wild, and everything gets a little bigger on the Western Slope. Wouldn't you say?
I'd agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the size of the river is kind of like
Yeah.
the big differentiator. You know, the Pooter's a good size river. You know, we got a lot of great creeks on the Front Range. We have
Yeah.
the Platte, which is a good size river. But like the Colorado, you know.
The Arkansas.
Yeah.
The fork.
Yeah, the Gunnison.
Yeah, it's just,
Iconic. Yeah.
yeah, it's real Western rivers.
Western rivers, right? Exactly. Yeah,
So, Blake, you spent some time over there, I know.
I do.
Give
Luckily.
us a rundown of some of the bugs you like to fish there.
You know, with the size of the rivers, both from really tiny kind of headwater stuff and feeder creeks to the big rivers. One of my favorite ways to fish the bigger rivers down there is out of a boat, of course, right? I mean,
Of course.
if you can fish out of a boat, it's a pretty good day. I'll fish. I like to fish hoppers out of the boat, especially this time of year. Being super accurate, getting to the bank can sometimes mean, whether you're 2 inches from the bank or 6 inches from the bank can sometimes mean an eat. And I like to fish a single dry when I can, right? The power taper leader from you guys is incredible for turning over flies in the wind, and really being accurate and being able to hit your mark. One of my favorite flies for that is going old school here is Dave's Hopper, Whitlock's Dave's Hopper. And this fly, there's just something about it. It's super buggy. It rides low. You can land it softly. I mean, going back to high country, use this fly a lot in the high country, and you might have a glassy lake, cast into cruising cutthroats, and you can land this fly soft. It doesn't have any foam in it. It's all natural. And you can, if you give it a little juice, you can slap this thing down too along the bank and be really accurate with it. And I love this fly.
How many fish do you think have
Oh
fallen to
my
the Dave's
gosh.
Hopper over the years?
I don't know, man.
Countless.
Too many.
I mean, it's in my box.
I definitely still have some.
I mean, there's a reason we're talking about it still.
Yeah.
Might have
and
been
I'm-
the first fly I ever got.
and beyond Colorado, I mean, I've used this down in Chile before too, and it catches fishes everywhere. So that's a classic for me. Out of the boat in the high country, fishing riffles on the Gunnison, things like that. And then another fly I really like, and I fish it in kind of an unconventional way, is the X2 caddis.
Cool. Craig Matthews pattern.
Craig Matthews, yeah. So this fly you'll often find in the dry fly section of most fly shops, including ours. It doesn't have any hackle below the hook shank. So if you fish it as a dry, it fishes really low to the water. For spooky fish, it works great. But my favorite way to fish it is actually on the swing. There's just something about this fly. I think the deer hair wing moves a little bit of water. I fish it under a weighted lead fly on the swing that I think gets this fly down, and then as that fly climbs through the water column, there's just something about it. But one of my favorite days on the water on the lower Gunnison was fishing this fly behind a weighted wet fly, and you were watching the fish eat it 5 times across the current, and then finally commit on the dangle. So really cool fly.
It's like a micro muddler, not even like a mini muddler.
Yeah, totally. It really does have that profile. I like it in olive. You guys do tie it in tan too.
The little contrast with the olive is really nice.
It is, and there's just something about the pattern. I fished it as a double dry. I fished it as a single dry, and then on the swing, and it just catches fish. So that's one of my favorites. And then I know Daryl doesn't like to use the word confidence fly, but I'm going to disagree with him on that. Another fly that I use when I'm fishing new water, especially, is the thin mint. This thing it crushes fish. And I don't know, it's a bugger, right? Tied in a couple different colors, really nice, stiff hackle fibers, make a lot of movement, push a little water, a little vibration. I've fished that fly on the Colorado. I've fished that fly on the Gunnison, on the frying pan. I've fished it in small creeks and big rivers. I've fished it on sink tips and float lines.
Just a really good way to cover a lot of water.
100%.
With one fly that is going to work.
And you get reactions with it, right? I mean, oftentimes I'll start on the bigger side on like the 8s or 10s, and if I'm not getting a fish to commit, I'll downsize, and that usually works. So yeah, great pattern, and fish out of a boat, fish it on foot, and then when I really the opposite of Delaney when he hikes 20 pounds of gear up to the high country.
He's young and fit
with only 12 ounces of water. I go the opposite, and I go, especially when I'm swinging, I go really minimalist, right? So I'll pack some Umpqua Phantom X and 3 and 4X, maybe 5 if I'm fishing skinny water. I'll grab one of your foam boxes because they're so light. A couple dozen flies in a couple different sizes and colors is all I need.
Just keep them wet and keep them fishing.
Yeah, keep them in my wader pocket or in my back pocket if I'm wet wading, and go really simple. And then another product I really like is the Dry Magic. And not only is the product great, but the size of this bottle. I mean, honestly, it fits in my pocket, and it's easy, and it's not super bulky. It works great.
It's the one solution for every dry fly treatment.
It works great on CDC.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, that's a great product too. And I go real minimalist. I might carry a puck of flies or one of your mini foam boxes.
Minis loaded up and just go.
If I can't catch fish on those 24 flies, Delaney, I'm not catching fish.
There's always that one you're going to be missing.
There's always that one.
You never know.
Yeah, the one that keeps you up at night, right?
100%.
Thin mint size 14.
It could be the 6.
That fly is great on the swing too.
When you fish your floating, do you run any powders or just gel?
I'll gel it when it's dry, and then I'll powder it as I need it. Yeah, or I'll change flies. Honestly,
deadly 1-2 punch, gel float.
Yeah, gel float.
Yep.
With the dry.
Yep.
I've been very, very, very impressed recently fishing the spray.
Oh, that's my favorite crack.
It's been lights out.
Do you have a non-favorite crack, Russ?
No, but I do have a favorite.
Okay, that's good.
That stuff to me though, like it's funny you bring that up. Like the spray specifically when it comes to float fishing, so like Western Slope stuff,
Right.
to me is the most convenient way to treat your flies. So like it literally in my front pocket, and if I'm floating down and I see a juicy pocket coming up, I'm just like, oh, there's a fish there 100%.
Yeah.
And it's like,
We're rolling.
again, confidence
Yep.
in presentation and everything. It's like my flies riding as high and perfectly as I can, and it took me like 4 seconds to apply.
Yep.
There's no shaking. There's no full.
It's quick. It's easy.
It's my favorite crack, and you catch a lot more fish as a result of it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It works incredibly well. It's been a great tool for the high country for me this year.
Oh, nice.
And one thing you just said that strikes me is when you're float fishing, you're looking ahead.
Oh yeah.
So many people dial into banging the banks.
The 90 degrees, and you're just like, dude, you can't keep up at that pace.
You can't keep up, and then
Panicky.
Yeah, and if you're not looking downstream to find the really good lies, you're gonna snag a branch and miss a stretch of water that you wish you would have fished. So
Plus, when
that
you're
is-
fishing with a buddy, man, you want to like outfish him a little bit. And you're just like, dude, I get all the fresh shit
Right.
up here.
Yeah.
Yep.
if you miss and he picks up your seconds, then you buy him a beer at the end of the
That's
night.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, cool, guys. I think that is like, it paints a beautiful picture of what we've got here in Colorado.
So diverse.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you can get into all of those different types of fisheries, different seasons of the year. And it keeps us all on the water all year long, which is my favorite part
It's a
about
beauty.
living in Colorado.
There's so much water, so much possibility.
And you really can fish it year round. I mean, obviously here we are in late summer and we're talking hoppers and high country, but when that stuff freezes,
Let's turn around in January and throw 24s and 26s in the tailwaters.
Nothing makes you appreciate a big
Yeah.
hopper like 24s on the
Yeah.
tailwaters.
yeah, and floating. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, guys, if people have more questions, want to follow up with you, where are they finding you guys at?
Yeah, well, we do have 2 locations now. So we have the mothership, if you will, the main fly shop down in Littleton. Been there for a long, long time, and this
The new one in Denver.
this new spot
6th
in
and
Denver.
Marion.
Yep, 6th and Marion in Denver. Delaney's here running the show, and we're excited to be shooting in this space. It's a beautiful neighborhood, and then beyond that, everything that we offer in both of our stores can be found online to anybody in the country, and call us at 303-794-1104. We're happy to help. We love
Or
sharing.
that flashing on the
Right, exactly. Infomercial style.
Call us now.
But we love sharing our expertise. I mean, I
love-
feel like we have a really diverse team.
We got a
Right.
lot of fishy crew.
Yeah,
Love it.
that do a lot of different things.
We're all fishing something different.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to sit down, talk to us about the flies for Colorado. Make sure to tune in for the next episode of Flies 4. And thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and stay tuned.
Thank you, Umpqua. Thank you, Russ.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.